Right, rear brakes. I'm going to try and keep this fairly brief, guys. This is not much fun and it's not rocket science. Caliper changed, one of the calipers is seized. Right rear is seized. And yeah, the usual. Block it, jack it, take the wheels off, get out. Usual. There's snow melting on you while you do it, just for additional garage fun. Oh, jack stands in place, of course. So as you can see, guys, some of you may recall I replaced this caliper about a year ago on the left side, and you know, things are okay here. The grief is actually on the right hand side, and since I'm in the mode where I have to transition to my snow tires, since wheels are coming off, I might as well do this now. As you can see, this is absolutely bitched. You know, it's seized. There's no point in attempting to rebuild it, guys. The last time I took the left hand side apart, the piston was severely pitted, so yeah, time for a new caliper. Pretty straightforward. The pin bolts and then 2 bolts for the caliper frame itself. Straightforward to remove it, and of course just remove the drum. Those aren't drums, those are discs. So the 2 pin bolts on the caliper there, guys, 12 mil. You'll need to hold the nut on the inside here with a 17 mil wrench. Do yourself a favor, release the parking brake. Oi! Jumping Jesus! Oh, getting old. And yeah, that should pry off fairly easy, he says. One-handed. Oh, look at that. Even the roar is coming away from the hub. Right, 2 bolts on the backside there, 14 mil, guys. Get yourself a wee bit of Johnson bar. Once they're slack. Oh, these are kind of handy. Very handy indeed. So, as you can see, the rotor is cooperating nicely in there, guys. Fluke? No, not fluke. It's called anti-seize. Make things easy for yourself, especially if you're the guy taking that apart next time, right? Not too bad in here. Reasonably comfortable. So this is kind of a good investment, guys. These are dirt cheap, right? And when it comes to dialing calipers, spinning the piston back end, because of course on the SX4 anyway, the caliper contains the rear parking brake mechanism. So you need to spin it back. I've got this highlighted, of course, because it's E in the kit. Fits the SX4 caliper, and you use the left or right depending on what side you're in, and it just accommodates you spinning the piston back in. Handy, cheap. So I'll try and give you an idea how this works. So again, you just get the applicable left or right one. There's a wee backing plate that you put in position. The adapter plate there. I think you can see it, and of course you just tighten it up. It's difficult to do this one-handed, and then of course you just spin it. I'll see if I think I can do this one-handed, but we'll try. And then if you turn it, of course it just spins the piston back in until it's flush. Make sure everything's clean. Don't force anything, right? Don't buggerize any seals. And anyway, it works effectively with 2 hands. Oh my god, don't look at that, that's more money. Right, just a suggestion here, boys. Keep the caliper in place while you select the line. You know, that way everything's held rigid. It's a 11mm bolt, banjo bolt on the fitting. What the hell was I going to say? I had a point here. Yeah, clean up, get rid of the schmutz, give it a blast with some brake cleaner, of course, before you crack it loose, just to try minimize the likelihood of contamination. And yeah, have some plugs at the ready so that when you remove the line, you can just quickly plug it and minimize the fluid loss. There you go. We clip something like plug something like that is ideal. Make sure you have a rag at the ready. Make sure it's a tartan rag, eh? And yeah, so just a matter of removing the brake cable. There's a little clip there. I think you can see the clip. Just slide that back. There's a little edge on the back side. That will slip out, and wrestle with this a wee bit in order to get it to release from the from the caliper proper. Embarrassing. Guess that doesn't owe me anything, eh? Machined disc and everything. Nice. You may have to transfer over the park brake cable bracket. Well, you likely will, so just be aware. 12mm, two 12mm bolts. And yeah, so got everything lubed up. Use the appropriate lube, always. Right, and make sure nothing's binding, nothing's tight, everything's nice. And yeah, pretty straightforward. And of course, I'll show you the details on the banjo bolt. Make sure the two seals are there, inboard and outboard of the banjo fitting itself. And yeah, we'll go through the bleed once it's in place. When you've spent this much time, take a couple of minutes and wire wheel the hardware. We've got Loctite. So just a wee bit of detail about the park brake cable. So engage the eyelet and pull it through. So you're bringing the spring under tension, bringing the cable under tension, and you can slip the fitting through the yoke there, and you can see the little securing clip is fastened in place. It should be roughly flush, right? There you go. Make sure your spring hardware is in on the top. Make sure that the cross is lined up so it engages with the pin on the back of your pad, and you should be good to go. Couple of pin bolts, of course. So if you're the type that likes to rush things, at least get this right. Get a torque wrench. Make sure that the brake line itself here, item A, is torqued to 17 foot-pounds, right? Or whatever unit you like to use. And make sure the stack on the banjo bolt. So you have the bolt itself, then you have a seal, inboard of that, or between the two seals is the banjo fitting itself, and then a seal. So it's the caliper, seal, banjo fitting, seal, bolt. Make sense? Torqued to 17 foot-pounds. And I'll show you the torque specs for the pin bolts and for the caliper for the carrier. In fact, I'll do that right now. Got heat on in here, it's a wee bit nippy. Get yourself the manual if you don't have it, guys. Don't ask me for a copy. Go on the web and just search it. You'll find a PDF download, very reasonable. And so there's the spec for the pin bolts. Are 17 foot-pounds as well, and the carrier bolts 43.5. Okay, this is not intended to show you how to bleed the brakes on a vehicle, guys, but of course you need to bleed the caliper. Ideally have somebody help you. Go ahead, Lisa, push the brakes. Push. Release. Push. Release. And push. Good. So of course you're looking for a solid column of fluid, right? You don't want any bubbles. Bubbles mean trouble. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Bleed the brakes as required, guys, depending on what you're doing on the vehicle. Bleed 2 corners, 4 corners, whatever is required. Right, the rest of it's of course just nut and bolting the wheels back on. Gonna put my snow tires on because it's the season. When you're done with the bleed, of course, set the final fluid level on the master. Right, that's my snow zone, boys. It's all back together. She don't look none too pretty, but save you for killing yourself in the Canadian winters. Just one last note, not a bad idea to check the differential temperature of the brakes. When I take it out for a test drive, I typically come back and just right on cue, huh? Right on cue. Check the differential temperature between the brakes. Of course, if it's excessively high, you've got a dragon brake, and if it's excessively low, potentially you have a non-functional brake. So yeah, just makes sense to me. That's it, boys. Cheers.